she was killed. And they tried
the top
to
six
cover it
girls
up.
really look great, but you seem to have that perfect aesthetic.
I wasn't
look.
into hip hop or even soul music.
There are definitely people that need a little Viagra.
I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body. And that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Hey guys, we're super excited to be here at the LA Fit Expo. It's our third year in a row. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs. And we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions, diet, training, supplementation, IMP pros, news. In less than 2 weeks, we're going to be in, or rather 2 weeks exactly, we're going to be in Columbus, Ohio, getting set. You know what? I'm totally off, Dave. It's next week. My timelines are totally confused. Mm-hmm. Arnold Classic next week, the Olympia in 3 weeks. So this is
fast.
This is the official thick of the contest season, which obviously over the course of the last 2 years has taken quite a dramatic turn in terms of rescheduling. And here we have it, the Arnold Classic, which typically you would have in March, is going to be next week in October. As we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, over the next few days, now the show begins. Now the fun begins. There's been so much hype for the Arnold Classic and truly one of the best, if not the best ever lineups. We finally see it all go down next week in Columbus.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy when you think about it, but we're going to have 2 of the biggest shows of the year back to back. And I think that's what's adding a level of excitement. Now, it might not be good in terms of like, holding that from a financial standpoint, you know, moving forward, because we've talked about this. Should they have the Arnold here every year because it adds like kind of like almost like a playoff right before the Olympia. It adds another level of excitement. You know, there's more money, but I mean, like they have with the Rising Phoenix show that just took place for the women bodybuilders. Andrea Shaw just won 50 grand and a brand new Corvette, and now she's going to go to the Olympia in 3 weeks later, and she stands to make the same money. So, but the truth is that it's probably not feasible financially to do that because no one's going to go to 2 big expos, especially if the Arnold goes back to doing the huge expo they always do. So this year is like kind of like an asterisk year in a sense that we get this little bonus plan here of being able to have the Arnold, even though it might be an abbreviated version of it. But from a fan standpoint, we get to see the biggest stars on both stages. And aside from I think we're missing Big Ramy and Hattie. I mean, everyone else is in that show. So I mean, and Labrada, excuse me. So it's going to be a great Arnold Classic. I think it might be the best one ever. I know we say that a lot, but I've said it many times. This might be the worst Arnold of all times, but this one might be the best one because the depth of talent at this show is so good, and it's because it's right before the Olympia. So we're having a rare, I guess, ability to have more excitement. See a lot of young guys in the show too, between the Nick Walkers and the Ian Vallieres and Hakeem Williams and all the guys that are coming up now, who are going to start being the new guard, so to speak, are going to be in this show, and we're kind of seeing a lot of the old guard push that a little bit, and in a sense that also makes it more exciting. So I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to watching it. And I haven't said that about a show in a long time. I always watch the Olympia, but obviously the Arnold hasn't always been the best show. This year, it's going to be spectacular.
Let's get to the question. Before we do that, I wanted to give a special shout out. Old School, again, coming through. These are going to be the Olympia shirts that we're going to be wearing on Olympia weekend. Old School has been a supporter of RxMuscle throughout the course of the calendar year. And they stepped up again for Olympia weekend, and we couldn't be happier to have them along for what should be a very, very exciting show. So again, thank you for the gear, and thank you for hooking us up again.
Just in that light, I was at the gym yesterday because I wore it yesterday for all the programming we recorded yesterday, but I wore it in the gym in the morning, and people were coming up to me, where can I get that shirt? That shirt is phenomenal. And I said, oldschoolbodybuildingclothing.com, it was osbbc.com. And the truth is that Scott went crazy with that shirt. I mean, if you see how many different, between the sleeves, the front, and if you turn around, Sid, and show the back to our audience, I mean, it's one of the best backs I've seen. If you like it, it's almost like an Olympia.
I don't know how much you're going to be able to see, but
we can see it. No, we can see it. Turn a little bit more. That's right there. I mean, awesome. He did a great job on those shirts. So head over to their site and pick those up. That's going to be a collector's item for sure.
And our YouTube audience just got a shot of my ass. Anyway, we're going to get to the questions. The first two questions, of course, from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. The first question, massage guns or active release therapy, do they actually have any benefits, muscle growth, repair? Talk to us about ART and massage guns and the benefits that they have.
I probably was one of the very first people to ever have ART done. I mean, probably not the first one, because I mean, Charles Poliquin has been talking about that back in the muscle media days with Bill Phillips about ART, but it really became popular in the 90s. My good friend Derlin Castro, who's a chiropractor, went and took the course early on, and then he was working and practicing on me in probably around 95, 96, and 97. I used to go to his house and have it done all the time, and it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal
You sent me to him last year, yeah.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal modality. So if you guys, and the good thing is you can go on their website, activereleasetechniques.com, and you can put your zip code in and find guys who are accredited in your area. And it's very hard to get accredited. So who's ever got that accreditation, the real accreditation from that website, they're all going to be good. And anyway, in that light, as far as massage guns go, massage guns are great too. And I've probably, I don't know, what is it, about 10 or 12 massage guns I've done reviews on, because everyone's sending me their massage guns to review. And to be honest with you, pretty much all of them are really, really good. I don't think I've tried one that was bad. Some of them have a little more bells and whistles on them. But if you use them, they're good, And the advantage of it is that, you don't need to depend on a massage therapist coming in. You can kind of use it on yourself, or you can have your wife or girlfriend, whatever, use it on you as well. And they get really deep penetration into the muscle without, breaking someone's fingers off. And so I think from a perspective of recovery, injuries, training, and stuff like that, you can't beat a good massage gun. I would have had at least one or two of them had I had them available to me back when I was competing. I had to pay for massages. And it's good to get a good deep tissue too, but I'm telling you, those massage guns are great. You could probably, instead of going weekly for a massage, you could probably go, once a month if you use the massage gun regularly on yourself. That's how good they are.
Before we ask the next question, actually it just came across my feed right now, Dave. I don't know if you saw this before, but so it was just announced a couple of days ago, the International Sports Hall of Fame, Dr. Bob Goldsman.
Yeah,
Bob Goldman's, event.
Stream that.
Right. Typically, that's usually at the Arnold Classic. This year is going to be on Olympia weekend.
Oh, great.
And how about this? Four-time Mr. Olympia, Jay Cutler, is going to be one of 5 athletes going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
It's about time.
Yeah,
it's about time.
Big time. Congratulations to Jay Cutler. That's going to be on Olympia weekend. It's going to be on the Saturday, October 9th. Dr. Bob Goldman, of course, will serve as the host of the event. So if you're going to be there for Olympia weekend, it's another incentive right there and then. 4-time Mr. Olympia, Jay Cutler, inducted into the International Sports Hall of Fame. Congrats, Jay. Great bodybuilder, great guy. Second question, again, from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, I once saw a video you did with Tony Freeman in your hotel room, I think using your microwave, and spoke about him just using carbs and either bcaas or eaas before a show to keep his stomach flat. What's your view on this, and why did it never catch on?
I don't think I ever talked about that. Maybe he was talking about it. I was listening, maybe interviewing. Tony always was trying different crazy things, to see if he could, have different looks to his body. I don't think that consuming just, essential amino acids with carbs are going to be enough protein. Your body can't, in other words, I challenge someone to just use essential amino acids in a drink form and no other protein and see how their body looks. I guarantee you will lose muscle. I guarantee you will not look good and you will not feel good. It's just not a complete source of protein, and it's not going to do the job. Is it great to supplement your food meals and your whey protein shakes? Absolutely. Now, whey isolate is not the same thing as essential amino acids, because whey isolate is a complete food, essentially. It's in powdered form. So you can't really do that. It doesn't work well. And once again, even prior to show, I know people prior to show saying, "Oh, you don't need protein, and just eat carbs." Of course you need protein. Your body is constantly, even if you're not, rebuilding any muscle, which you are, of course, because you worked out the whole week prior to the show. Your body is still repairing, hair, nails, skin, internal organ, the lining of your intestinal tract. There's enzymes, protein hormones. There's an incessant need for protein in our body, and there's no storage facility for it. So the body needs to consume it, dietarily speaking. And so when you start doing kooky, crazy things like that, you get very bad results. That's been my experience.
Before we go to our Instagram question, we got a question on our Facebook page from Carolyn Bryant, former host of the Fitness View on RxMuscle. She wants to know, what do you think, or what do you know about this disorder that makes females produce higher levels of testosterone? Does it even have a name? She compares it to a myostatin disorder, and she specifically mentions the Namibian runners, Maboma and Masalingi, apologies for the mispronunciation, how they were disqualified for the 400, but were allowed to run for the 100, 200. Makes no sense. But addressing, that condition that produces higher levels of testosterone in women.
Right. Now, some women have what's called polycystic ovarian disease, which is their adrenal glands produce extra amounts of adrenal androgens, DHEA, which then converts to testosterone. That's very common. It also makes them insulin resistant. There's a lot of issues that go along with this syndrome that we see, in women, and those women tend to have more muscle on their body. Now, there is also some syndromes where women produce excessive amounts of that testosterone, and remember, women don't have testicles, so the testosterone has to come from the adrenal glands. Why the adrenal glands are over-releasing, I don't know, and that's remains to be seen. But I think of a woman as a biological woman. If she just happens to have a disorder that she's cranking out extra testosterone, they should not be restricted from competing in competition. Is it unfair? Yeah, but that's their body. It's like saying Ronnie Coleman shouldn't be allowed to bodybuild because he's just genetically too good. Oh, he's too much better than everyone else. His body just grows too much muscle. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's ludicrous. That's what makes life so interesting, because there are people that are genetically superior, whether it's a freak mutation in their bodies or not, and that's the case. If she's a biological genetic female, XX chromosome, okay, then she should be able to produce, and she doesn't have male testicles that are cranking out testosterone, she should be able to produce, she should be able to compete in sports. I have the problem when there's a man who's a biological man who has decided, I just woke up today and I decided I want to be a woman, and I'm going to put a wig on, and I'm going to shave my legs, and I'm going to do all the other womanly things, and I'm going to go get my nails done and whatever else they want to do to make themselves feel like a woman. But I want to compete in women's sports now because I relate to being a woman. That I have a problem with, because even if they take androgen blockers or whatever to get their testosterone levels down to normal levels, they have a certain level of muscular development already, and bone density, and the structure of how their body has matured according to their testosterone they've been exposed to earlier in life. That's not fair, and that's where the distinction should be. It's fine. You could identify to be whoever you want in society. I think that we all have that ability to make that choice. But when we talk about sports, we have two different divisions. We have a biological woman's division, and we have a biological man's division. I think you have to stick to what you were born with as far as competing in sports go. Now, if you want to do beauty pageants and other stuff like that, I think that that's fine. As long as there's no performance aspect of it, it's more just a visual type of thing, I think that that's okay. But I think once you get into sporting events where there could be an advantage for a man over a woman, that becomes unfair. I see these biological, men competing in MMA, and I'm horrified because I think someone's going to get hurt and killed, and then they're going to wait till that happens, and then they're going to have to make a decision on this. But that's only my personal opinion.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. Again, if you're not already following us, our handle is official_RxMuscle. Like I said, next week we're going to be in Columbus for the Arnold Classic. 2 weeks after that, we're going to be at the Olympia. So everything that we're going to be doing there, everyone that we're going to be speaking to, we're going to be documenting on our feed, on our posts. So you're going to want to make sure you're following us there. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. Obviously, between next week and the 2 weeks leading into the Olympia, and of course, both Arnold Classic and Olympia weekends, we're going to have loads and loads of content here on the channel. You're not going to want to miss it. Hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss anything coming through the pipeline. If you like what you're watching, hit the like button below, comment below, and as always, we appreciate all of your support. Dave, we're going to address the elephant in the room. As you would imagine, many of our questions relate to the news story that circulated yesterday regarding Melissa Valliere. And then obviously you had, like you always do, you're going to have those coming out with their takes, and then the stories start to get a little bungled or whatever. In your opinion, and obviously I'll boil it down to the two angles. One, obviously your take on what you've heard to this point. And the second, one of the questions I guess is relevant to the conversation is, how easy is it to illegally mail gear through packages? Do people get caught often?
Well, the whole situation is a terrible, terrible situation, obviously. And, everyone who bodybuilds out there and uses anabolics, and I know most, for the people watching the show, it's probably a very large percentage of you. This could have happened to anyone who used. So if anyone to judge these people, it's despicable, really, okay? Because everyone has done something they shouldn't do, and anyone who uses gear is doing something illegal. Now, you got to remember, in Canada, possession of gear is not a big deal. They don't care, pretty much. Actually, supplements is worse than gear there. But having said that, okay, if there was a package mailed by them to themselves from Canada to the U.S., it was a very dumb move, obviously, because anytime you mail something internationally, okay, it goes through customs. That adds another level of where something could be exposed or searched for or opened. When you mail something within the United States, they don't open packages routinely because they don't have enough time. It's domestic, okay? So there's a much lower level of fear, unless someone ratted you out or said, hey, this guy's expecting some kind of drug package. No one's opening it up. But that it was not, if they did do it, and once again, I don't know. I'm just seeing what's being reported. If they did do it, it was a poor decision on their part to do that. And luckily, it's probably a possession charge because, it looked like it was, according to whatever they listed in this article that I looked at, it looked like it was a small amount of stuff that was probably personal use. Obviously, they're staying in the United States right now, and they probably needed some stuff. It was not a smart decision. Now, once again, to ask how often do they open packages, I don't know. But when you send things internationally, you're basically rolling the dice. That's why when I see people that order stuff from Europe or China, I'm like, you're crazy. I'm like, because it's going through customs, okay? Customs X-rays almost everything. Sometimes, there's so many packages coming and they can't open everything, obviously, but, eventually it's a numbers game. If you keep doing it, you're going to get caught, and it's unfortunate, but, when I got in trouble, my little growth hormone problem, no one ever opened the package because it was domestically sent, but there was tracking, to show that, I received a package on this date, so it's according to whoever set me up, it's reasonable to believe that the package was open, had whatever the guy said it had it in. So it's different, but they never opened the package. Once a package gets opened and they do a controlled delivery, which is what they did, it seems in this situation, they had opened it in customs. They realized there were drugs in it. They went and delivered it anyway to see if someone would accept it. Because if they hadn't accepted it, obviously, then there would have been nothing they could do about it. And then obviously, I guess they showed fingerprints according to the article, Melissa's fingerprints. So I'm assuming she's going to have to answer for something like that, and probably be some kind of a possession charge. I don't know. The problem is I don't know what the ramifications are, or what the final verdict would be, because if you do anything illegal, it's very hard to get from Canada to the United States if you have some kind of any kind of felony or something like that on your record. So hopefully they get a good lawyer and they can get out of this situation. Of course, the timing sucks because it's right before the Olympia and the Arnold. No one wants to go through that, and I send my prayers and really out to them, because it's an annoyance. It's something that no one has to go through, want to ever have to go through, and it sucks that they're trying to just be athletes in their sport, and then and then they're being, and then they have to worry about legal ramifications over just trying to do what they love. And so I'm sorry to hear the story, and I'm sorry to see a lot of the bottom feeders out there who are like reveling in this and making headlines out of this and trying to make like a big deal out of it. It really, we should all be just kind of trying to downplay it, because it could have happened to anyone out there.
Let's go to Captain Morgan. Considering diet, supplementation, sleep, and lifting routine is all on point, is it possible to overdo low-intensity interval training, such as, and I mean, specifically mentions walking uphill on a treadmill for an hour?
When I do cardio, or when I recommend that my clients do cardio, I always try to keep the level of strain on the muscles to a minimum. Cardio is, it's funny, when I started cycling, outside back in the day, several years back, I thought that the harder you put it on high gears, you had to really push with those legs. And then I realized that your legs fatigue and you can't really get a good workout. You can't get a good long bike riding because you're so fatigued. And then I found out that as I started learning more about the sport of cycling, those guys use minimal. When they're spinning, when they're pedaling that bike, there's no tension on their legs, because they want to be able to spin with no lactic acid buildup. They let their heart do the work, okay? With cardio, for burning fat purposes, okay, you just want to move. You don't want strain on your legs, because if your legs are being strained or the rest of your body is being strained, you could break down muscle tissue. And we're not building muscle doing cardio, we're just burning fat. So you don't want to walk up a hill. You don't want to climb stairs too much. You're not going to spot reduced fat on your glutes and hamstrings because you're walking up 4 million steps, okay? But you will break down muscle tissue in those legs and over fatigue them and make it very hard to do cardio every single day, because you're overworking your legs and then of course risking muscle loss. So I prefer to have guys and women walk on a treadmill a little faster, maybe if they need to but with no tension and no steepness, no incline on the treadmill. So I might have my guys do 3.2 to 3.8 miles per hour, which is below a run, but it's a fast walk, but there's no tension on them. So this way, at least they're burning fat, but they're not number one, raising their heart rate too high where they have to use carbohydrates as a fuel source. And number two, they're not putting a strain on their legs where they may be breaking down too much muscle.
Let's go to Jay Stamson. When off cycle, my appetite is uncontrollable. Is that normal, or is my body trying to get more calories to hold onto the muscle mass?
I didn't catch the very beginning of what you said.
Yeah, he says when off cycle that his appetite is uncontrollable. Is that normal, or is his body trying to get more calories to hold on to the muscle mass?
No, it's funny. I always tell people that, after a show, I tell people when you rebound, a lot of guys go on more gear to try to grow after a show. I'm like, come off the gear. I was just talking to this about one of my clients. Come off the gear, because the gear's going to be in your system for another 4 weeks anyway because of all the stuff you've been on. And when you stop taking those shots and putting more toxicity into your body, it opens up your appetite a lot. So that's why when you go off the cycle, you get hungrier, because now that the toxicity level is lower, your liver's cleaner, everything's working better, and now your body wants to eat more because it has more energy and more, I guess you could say, resources to process and facilitate, the use of more protein. So you will absolutely have a better appetite off of gear. There's no doubt in my mind about that, especially if you keep training, And after a show, you're going to have a good appetite anyway. So yeah, my suggestion is after a show, do your PCT, clean out. For the first 4 weeks, you're going to grow anyway. And then the next 4 weeks, you'll be coasting a little downhill. But 4 weeks goes really fast, and then you're back on cycle. Meanwhile, you actually grew while you were cleaning out, and now it's time to go back on. Meanwhile, the people who took gear now first have to clean out for 8 weeks before they start up. So you get an added benefit, and you save a lot of time on that way too.
Let's go to Classic Physique Nash. Dave, what are the negative effects of long-term aromatase inhibitor use? For example, Arimidex for 1 year consecutively. P.S. Yes, I'm saving up money for gyno surgery. I know that is the only sensible permanent solution.
There's really, some people do have problems with aromatase inhibitors, and I've discussed this with Jay Campbell on my show before. He's absolutely anti-aromatase, he's against those. He thinks they're the devil. But you know what? For people who take testosterone injections and aromatizing steroids, you have to take anti-aromatases to a certain degree. How much you need is very individualistic. Some people are bigger aromatizers than others. So if you are aromatizing, meaning converting testosterone to estrogen at a very high amount, taking an aromatase inhibitor consistently, is probably going to be good for you. You're going to probably feel fine. There's no toxicity to aromatase inhibitors. Some people, however, if their estrogen goes too low, feel terrible, And, it affects your sex drive, it affects your ability to grow, the androgen receptor sensitivity. Most people don't take too much, though, So if you're taking the right amount, and how do you know you're taking the right amount? Well, go for blood work and check your estrogen levels. And you'll know if your estrogen levels are in normal range, you're in the right amount. If your estrogen's too high, you need more. If your estrogen's too low, you cut back a little bit. And when you find the right amount, you can stay on them indefinitely if you want. They're not toxic. They're just, if you do too many of them and you don't need it, and I'm saying too many could be a half a tab every other day. That could be too much for some persons. I don't aromatize very much, but I convert a lot to DHT. That's just my genetics. However, there are other people that they actually look at a vial of testosterone and they're growing, gynecomastia. They just have big aromatizers. So you got to determine for the person how much they need.
Let's go to Christian Lawu. The highest dosage of Clen one should build up to pre-contest, and how many mcg would you consider to be alarming?
I never go over 120 micrograms of clenbuterol in one 24-hour period. So I start usually people off on 20 micrograms twice a day, spread out, every couple hours. I never let people stack dosages on top of each other because that's when you have problems, Because clenbuterol can drop your blood pressure, and if you take too much in one dose, it drops your blood pressure, and then your heart rate goes up. So if you want to keep your heart rate normal and your blood pressure normal, you spread your dosages out of the stuff. After 2 weeks on clenbuterol, you don't really get that agitation effect anymore. Some people get a little shaky the first week or two, but then it goes away. I usually add 20 micrograms every couple weeks, and I'll build up to 120 the most if they need that much. Not everyone needs 120 micrograms a day. I wouldn't go over that. I don't think there's any need to go over it. I know someone who was taking like 300 micrograms a day of the stuff. I'm like, it's impossible. And then I made them test it with I have a clenbuterol roid test tester that we sell on DavePaloma.com, and they tested their clenbuterol because not only does it tell you if it's real, it tells you what the dosage is, and they found out that their clenbuterol was super, super weak. It was real, but it was super, super weak, and that's why they were taking so much. No one should be taking more than 120 a day if you're taking fully dosed clenbuterol.
Take 2-3 more questions from Bilal Hamide. I'm constantly feeling bloated while on cut. Calories are low. I'm taking enough fiber, drinking plenty of water. What else could it be?
He didn't really say what he's eating carbohydrate-wise, did he? Sit.
Sorry, no, he didn't. No, he just mentioned low in calories, but he's drinking a lot of water and taking fiber. So he's wondering, I guess, what else could be the possibilities for him being bloated?
There's a million different. Carbohydrates usually bloat you. If he's eating a higher carb diet, he says he's on low calories, so I don't know, but he could still be eating carbohydrates. That could be bloating. High estrogen may be possible. You could test that. If he's just getting stomach distension, and he's doing my Fiberlize twice a day, that's usually unusual. But it could be that his gut bacteria are off. I would try to take a probiotic. I've mentioned there's a website called Natren, Natren.com, and they sell 2 really good probiotics. One's called Megadophilus, and one's called Bifidofactor. They're powders. You can I mix them into my Fiberlize. One is for the good bacteria in your small intestines. One's for the good bacteria in your large intestine. You kind of alternate day to day. Do like a 30-day run of that and see how your body feels. Once again, gut bacteria is super important. If you completely deplete them out, you lose the protective layer on the inside of your gut, meaning your small intestine and large intestine. And that leaves the gut open to the pathogens and all the little irritants that you consume in your daily diet. And sometimes that irritation or inflammation will make your gut, distended, and make it feel like there's air in there almost, because you're causing excessive inflammation. So try the probiotics.
Let's go to Swit 1982. Do you see any benefits in microdosing fast-acting compounds daily instead of taking a large amount every other day?
Right off the bat, it's a pain in the ass. So I don't know if anyone has ever done. Back in the day, we used to get these bottles of test suspension, which is basically testosterone powder in water. That's what test suspension is. And you had to take it. Really, we probably should have taken it twice a day because it doesn't last more than probably 8 or 10 hours. But you would take a shot, once a day. Some guys would take it every other day, which is kind of silly. And it hurt, and it was a pain in the neck. And who wants to take a shot every day? And you got to remember to take it. The advantage of using long-acting esters is that you don't have to take a shot every other day. So I don't believe that microdosing works better than taking, an every other day dosing of a long-acting compound, because as those levels build up after 2 weeks, you have constantly, nice, even, steady levels all the time. So there's no reason to microdose. Why would you try to take a very fast-acting, multiple times throughout the, some people take it twice a day or at least every day. It's just a pain in the neck. And then what's happening is you're getting these little peaks. You never have steady levels because fast-acting compounds don't last 24 hours in the system. So you're still getting peaks and valleys. Take long-acting compounds every other day, and I promise you won't have a problem. Now, when you have a long-acting compound on board, and what I found with the whole test suspension thing back in the day was because guys would go up and down from taking these shots, I found that by adding like a level of like a testicipionate or testananthate, putting like at least one shot a week in there, it gave you a baseline level so that you didn't have these huge drops and huge peaks and valleys. If you're going to use fast-acting compounds like Winstrol or Trenbolone acetate, that's fine, but always have on board something long-acting so that you have a baseline level.
Take one more from Gianluca Giordano. If Lee Haney did not retire after winning in 1991 his 8th Olympia title, I mean, his answer is simple. Just could he have won a 9th? In your opinion, if Lee decided to go on at the end of his run, how many Olympia titles do you think he would have racked up?
I don't know if Lee would have beat a 1993 Dorian, because Dorian was insane in 93. 92 Dorian was good, but he was very depleted out. Haney might have beat him again in 92. It would have been possible, for Haney to win again, because Haney got better. Remember, Haney was only like 33 years old when he retired, so he was hardly at the end of his career. He still could have had a couple more good years. I don't think he would. I think he could have won one more. I don't think he would have beat Dorian in 93 at all. And I think 92 would have been close. But Haney was really good in 91. And so if he would have come back even 5% better, I think he would have won another Olympia.
I'm just looking at the list of the International Sports Hall of Fame inductees. So, yeah, obviously, 4-time Mr. Olympia, Jay Cutler, as we mentioned before. Marcus Allen, pro and college football legend.
LA Raiders, yeah.
Yeah, Billy Blanks. Remember the Tybo?
They've been trying to get Billy Blanks. I know they've been trying to get Billy Blanks for a couple of years. That's great that they got him.
Peter Westbrook, first African-American Olympic, world, and national fencing champion. Great Grandmaster Ernie Reyes, world and national Taekwondo champion. And good friend of yours, Stephanie McMahon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Executive, former WWE awesome. Women's champion. So, So that's cool. I mean, we just found out about this. So if you're going to be at the Olympia weekend, you're going to get an opportunity to see Jay Cutler inducted, Stephanie McMahon. So possibly Triple H will be there as well. But should be a lot of fun. And again, congratulations to Jay. We couldn't be any happier for you. That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, next week we're going to be in Columbus covering the Arnold Classic. 2 weeks after that, we'll be at the Olympia, so a lot's going to happen between now and then. Hit the subscribe button below. We're going to have a lot of preview content, interviews coming up with some of the top athletes. We're going to be competing at the Arnold Classic and the Olympia, preview iron debates, and so much more to get you ready for the Arnold Classic and the Olympia. Historically, that's going to be 2 weeks apart. maybe for the last time ever. Who knows what the future holds? For Tyler Shore and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.